Howdy from Las Vegas. It's your girl Sony coming at you live from Low Budget Mulatto Productions. Just kidding. Whoa, sorry, you weren't supposed to know all that. Anyway, hope all is going well. It's the weekend here in Las Vegas, and today, I've got one of my favorite snacks to be having late at night. Well, really anytime, but this is apples and cheese, and I was gonna pour, a little glass of vino while I talk to you, and hold on, I'm pouring. What am I drinking tonight? Right, this is just like basic B type stuff. So but I really like this one, and it actually was recommended, like the staff picks or whatever at the supermarket, at the whatever place, the market. So this is Sideshow tonight. This is Sharat's, the Charmer. I don't even know if you're allowed to like show the product, but just real quick, right? But this won't be monetized anyway, so it doesn't matter. But anyway, so right, pour yourself a glass of vino. Don't judge my glass. I actually like this glass. It reminds me of, if you remember in the Disney version of Snow White, when the witch was making the potion, she had a glass that it looked a little bit like this. So that's why I kind of just like it. Anyway, so right, today we're just gonna chat and drink and have some apple slices. I'm gonna eat them too. While we talk about just car stories. I don't know if you like that. The whole apples and cheese thing, but it doesn't for me. I like a really sharp cheese, so this particular store only had, I shouldn't say like, oh, they only had, but out of the cheeses I was looking for, my favorite cheese is this Irish cheese, that Dublin cheese. Who is it, Kerrygold or somebody? Well, anyway, the point is, like, if they make this really sharp cheese, that that's my favorite. That's my favorite. That Irish cheese, oh, so good. And with the apples, it's even better. And this is Parmesan and Gala apple slice, so kind of bougie on a budget kind of stuff. Anyway, and then I said the wine. I didn't even drink it yet. Oh, cheers to you. Oh. So let's see. I have to keep telling my cat to back out because she loves cheese, but she loves like the good cheese. Like I can't try to pass off some slices of American cheese product. No, she goes after the Parmesan and the Gouda and just my precious Irish cheese. She goes after all that stuff. So anyway, but don't worry, I don't let her on the table or anything. So anyway, car stories. So I think I mentioned that I used to be really into cars. I built my version. Some people would have called it a freak of nature, but I built this car. It was a 95 Chevy Caprice, or otherwise known as a Chevy Bubble. And I painted it pink, and that was like a whole journey, and I got to know so many people. And yes, there was there's a lot of drama in the car community. There's so much drama. We're not gonna go there because I don't want anybody, if anybody does bother to watch this video, I don't want anybody feeling some sort of way. Well, I will. That's so good. So anyway, a couple car stories I was gonna tell you. I'm gonna start out with I'm gonna start out with, and it's all gonna be anonymous. Don't worry. If you're one of my car friends watching this, I'm not trying to put anybody on blast or whatever. So anyway, okay, car stuff. So well, since living in, since I moved to Vegas, I got to know like different people in the car scene. There's a lot of oh shit, shoot. There's a lot of there's something for everyone in the car scene out here for sure. You got the lowrider stuff going on, the American muscle, you know, a whole Mustang culture over there. You got the off-roading trucks, you know, those Toyotas with those Toyota trucks with the whole front bumper removed because that's cool or whatever. Um, Jeeps, motorcycle, gosh, even freaking RVs. There's like RV club, minivan club, you name it. There's just a lot of car enthusiasm going on out here. Great. Um, as much as I loved working on cars, I just wasn't satisfied with the rate of experience, like the speed that I was getting enough experience that I could support myself at the same time. So I decided to kind of just knock it down a peg. Instead of trying to make a living as a mechanic, I was just going to do that on my own time. And you know, if I build a winner, I guess I would know it at the races, won't I? So I personally, I started out with tuners. I mean, in the Navy, I worked on diesel support, aviation support equipment. But so at the time, like I started out into tuners, so you know, Honda, Nissan. I had an Acura Legend Type 2 that I adored until I ran it into the ground. Because even though, as much as I love cars, I'm like really rough on them. And we're not talking about the typical like old girls have junky cars kind of annoying memes. We're talking about like I would drive that thing into the ground, race your light, you know, all that kind of like immature stuff. So I started out into tuners, and then I went into the military. I worked on diesel-based oriented equipment. You know, if you've done that sort of thing, you know what I'm talking about. And then I ended up switching over to American Muscle while I was in the military. That's when I started liking American Muscle. You know, this is a really long time ago. So you know, smartphones weren't around. I can't even say they weren't prevalent. They just weren't around. And so just keep in mind that it's not nearly such an internet accessible culture at the time I'm speaking of, and things like that. So you really, you know, you had to make your own way, like for real. No filters. So anyway, I got into American Muscle. I ended up getting a Chevy Caprice when I bought a car, and that was kind of the car I learned cars on with. So anyway, there's so many car stories we could go over related to me building this Chevy and the things that I went through trying to be part of the Chevy culture, when really it should have just been that I just remained a solo act and kept building my cars and doing my thing, because the having car club affiliations, you know, based on whatever problems I was going through and the problems that the people are going through. Any organization made up of people is going to bound to have some human error on everybody's side. And there was so much drama that I encountered along the way, and hopefully one day I'll be able to say that in a way that doesn't implicate anyone or act as though I don't take responsibility. Because like I said, you know, I wasn't a perfect person, and neither was the car club community. So anyway, fast forward to the story I'm going to tell you. In Vegas, I was now fast forward back to the smartphone days, right? We're in Vegas. It's recent, but within like it's been over the last 10 years or whatever that I've lived here. So anyway, I ended up becoming friendly with this guy on one of those internet social apps. You know, it wasn't Tinder. It was like OKC, something like that. So we ended up chatting on OKC. He runs a shop. It turned out he was running kind of a shop situation from his house. Like he had inherited this property, and it had like half an acre of land, and so he got into cars, and he just slowly but surely started building a shop, utilizing the land that he had. So okay, cool, great. Kind of young guy in his 20s. He said he had a daughter, but he's not with the BM, and the daughter's like, I don't know, 8 or 9 or something. So he's just doing his thing, learner mechanic in Vegas. Not so unheard of. Or maybe I'm telling too many details, but there's so many eccentric people out here. I don't really think that implicates him, and honestly, he probably doesn't even remember me. So anyway, because it was that many years ago, and we didn't really end up hanging out after this. So anyway, he had invited me over to kind of see the shop, and we could kick it, and kind of first meeting interaction kind of thing, whatever. All right, no problem. So I get over there, and right, it's what he said it is. Everything looks like what he described. That he had a place, and he's running a shop and whatever out of there. And around here he could. It was easy enough for him to make friends with other people in his peer group that were going to either support with patronage, or hook up with this and that and trading and all that kind of stuff. Out here, I don't want to, like, I'm not saying this aggressively, but out here, out west, it seems like there's definitely a population of poor, like there is poverty out here, but as far as like the young kids, a lot of them don't really know poverty. They've grown up in upper middle class to like decent kind of lifestyle. So my point is that it wasn't really a thing for them to trade and swap and build each other's cars and stuff like that. It's like a little more commonplace, I would say, out here for the camaraderie. So that's nice. Based on their circumstances, that's their privilege. So anyway, my point is that he had a little following, a community of people that supported, and he was able to kind of climb the ladders, and he was artistic. So he's doing a lot of custom work, welding, things that I still really am, but I was really keen to make friends, get to know people who already were doing things like this, so that I could pick up enough experience and do my own thing, or at least be part of something that I'm interested. It's not so strange. So I come over there, it's just me and him, and he's friendly, whatever, kind of lanky guy, and I don't want to give too many details because I already feel like I might have given too many details. So anyway, he's like this lanky guy, right, everything he said he was, kind of like, loner type. I think he was a Scorpio, all teal shade. I'm kidding. If you're a Scorpio, I can't judge you. I don't know you. That's just my own karma with Scorpios. It just seems like all the Scorpio guys I know, they crack me up, but I've seen them drive people crazy. So anyway, without trying, barely seem like. So anyway, they're demon seed. Anyway, so right, we're hanging out, we're talking, it's all good. He's showing me some random projects that he's doing, and we're just kind of kicking it. And it was kind of like a friendship with potential for more. I wasn't against friends with benefits, just chatting with him on the social site, but we're meeting to see. I appreciated that he wasn't being pushy. We could just kind of meeting to kind of like feel each other out, and if there was chemistry and it popped off, great. If not, we were being friendly. At least we had something else to talk about, the cars. So we're going through all that, whatever. And we finally, get to talking about the sexy stuff. And, he's just telling me, like, kind of in a roundabout way, he hasn't really been seeing anyone. And, you know, he just kind of like take no prisoners right now and blah blah blah. And I'm like, yeah, that's cool, like whatever. And I mean, it was an interesting person, but I'll admit, you know, my ambitions was to know him for the car stuff. Like I didn't really care if, you know, he didn't want to have a thing, or he's like giving me all these disclaimers about why we're not going to be in love. And I'm like, yeah, dude, that's cool. Just like show me how to do this, you know, because I'm really, I would love for us to be car buds more than butt buds, you know, like that's not terribly important to me. But you know, I know that males are visual, and you know, if they kind of have to, I mean, I don't hate to say it, but I don't mind telling you that men are visual, most of them, and or we're living in a time where men tend to be visual, I'll say. So, you know, they kind of have to be able to feel some level of attraction to you, regardless of why. It doesn't mean they're about to marry you. It doesn't mean they want to date you. It might not even mean they want to have sex with you, but they need to like what they see. You know, for you to get to the next level of whatever you're really trying to do. So in my case, I was trying to get better at welding and truck performance and stuff, and off-roading trucks and stuff like that. This guy apparently, right, we get to talking, and he finally comes out with it that this was like the kind of Ed Wood of mechanics. Like, he was a mechanic. It seemed like he was right at the top of what I call the bisexual slide. So he was right here, and I'm putting gay here, but not because I think gay is lesser. I'm saying that it's a spectrum, and you kind of, most of the people I've met that start out at, oh, I think I'm bi, or I just like doing this or that, and they start picking out little things related to the culture, to kind of like a door, like a gateway drug or something. I'm not mad at you. I'm just explaining, you know, all the guys that I met that were on the DL. So they start out here where they just kind of like, you know, playing with different concepts, or joking a little bit too much, or doing some kind of whatever. And again, I'm not saying it as though it's a problem. I'm saying like they feel uncomfortable. So they start out here. And then, you know, eventually you go, like, this going down the slide is fun, right? So they go down the slide, and eventually they pretty much go full blown gay, and they might be married to somebody by then out of companionship, but ultimately, like, you know, if you gotta go in through the sphincter for them at that point. So right, he was up here when I met him. I don't know where he's at now because we haven't talked in years, and I'm not judging. I'm just being objective to say, okay, when I met him, there were things he said that made me decide, maybe that's a judgment, but I took it, my interpretation is like, in my mind, okay, cool, no problem, but this guy is right at the top of the bi slide. So he's at the top of that slide and decides to yell out to me on the playground, hey, you know, and it would just be really cool to be able to dress up, you know, in wear women's clothing, because, you know, I just like the way it feels, you know, and it's just, I just think, you know, it would be fun, and you know, I just wish there was somebody there to, you know, to paraphrasing, say he looked nice. So he wanted an audience. He wanted a fag head, pretty much. I don't know if you find that term offensive, but that's an old term from, like, I don't know what generation, what decade is claiming that. I'm saying it based on it being directed towards me, that he wanted, you know, like a female admirer. In other words, he wanted a jealous girlfriend. Like, and I'm not talking about a girlfriend romantically. He wanted to be like the pretty girl, and you're kind of like the sidekick chick rallying him on. He needed somebody to feel prettier than. And right, so you can see how that's insulting. So right, like longer story short, he over here auditioning different women, trying to find somebody that he feel that, first of all, he feels comfortable enough to wear women's clothing, and B, feels prettier than this female. This female's supposed to just be like his cheerleader, like, oh wow, you're like, you wear that bra so much better than me as a woman. Wow, you're just so pretty, and oh my god, like, you're just so pretty. So he he hoping to have a friend like this eventually, and I guess for free, because I'm like, you can pay somebody to be a cheerleader. I mean, they pay people to cry at funerals. They pay people to cheer at weddings. You can pay somebody to be your cheer section or whatever. I mean, I think that's basically what people do nowadays, right? You can hire somebody, but no, see, that's the glitch, is that it has to feel authentic, for the people I've encountered that behave this way. It has to feel authentic, but at some point they have to kind of let you know what's going on and find out if you're down, because they're trying to hurry up and get that prom dress on or whatever, and so you can tell them they look good. So I'm kind of like processing all this, and I'm like, are there any ways worth my time that I can somehow, okay, life is quid pro quo, right? So, all right, he wants someone to act like he's pretty in girls' clothes. I want to weld. So, for me, it was pretty straightforward at the time. I'm like, okay, well, it's not going to kill me to sit here staring at a man put on pink sweaters and poodle skirts like Ed Wood and telling me, oh, wow, you're pretty and so much prettier than me. Right, if that meant I would get to weld and build trucks and different stuff like that, small price to pay, because I don't know. I mean, it didn't bother me really. Like as long as you can stand back and look at the equation, then you can at least, for me, it wasn't intimidating, especially since I kind of knew what the party was at that point. You can't. That's how it was. So I was like, oh, he's like, yeah, because and he's kind of feeling a little more comfortable at that point to tell me that he really likes wearing girls' clothes, and and I'm just laughing at myself, because I'm like, everybody probably thinks you're like this, like, just super straight macho mechanic, which on the surface you are. And I'm not saying he couldn't be because he had this Ed Wood complex. I'm saying that it's just funny to me how, even mechanics, there are some of them that are low key. And it just cracks me up, kind of. I guess I shouldn't laugh at their, like, all the stuff they have to go through to get to a safe platform, even though what he wanted wasn't exactly Buddha driven, if you will. And not that I'm the official of the Buddhist officiator, but it's not like, okay, like, let's break it down. You're trying to find women that you don't feel are prettier than you could be as a woman to dress up in front of, so that they can tell you how pretty you are. And, like, you're trying to get it to be as genuine as possible, authentic, for you to validate yourself and get off in your own stuff. Like, I'm not mad at you for what you like. I'm just cracking up at what you're doing to try to, I don't know, to validate yourself. Still, once again, even as a man pretending to be a woman, he got to step on some woman's neck to feel pretty. So I would have been down, but eventually that just kind of ate away at me. Like, you over here, like, trying to procure women, to lure them over here to because you want to but you want to have somebody that is going to feel that you are prettier than them. Like, if that isn't just some really, like, I could, that was a deal breaker for me. I was like, okay, it would have been one thing if you just wanted a friend to appreciate you dressed up as a woman, but the fact that you need to, oh yeah, and you have to be uglier than me, like, that was too much for me. So I ended up, we hung out. It was cordial and everything. Like, we finished our conversation, but we didn't. I don't remember us hanging out anymore. Whatever I knew beyond. I deleted all the rest after that. Like, he was cool and everything, but I wasn't trying to be his fallout girl. So So, what's another story? This isn't like about judging some guy, but it's just a funny story. So, I needed a steering gearbox for my Chevy at the time, and I was friends with a couple of guys, and they're like in their 40s, so they've been mechanics for a minute, and you know they're freaking tricksters. They're so like they're shysters. Like these guys are tricksters. So, but whatever. Like I know them. They don't pull any cons on me because I'm in the little mechanic community at that point. But you know, out on the street, you know, these guys are shameless sometimes. So anyway, to me they were all kind of like just like crazy uncles and stuff, and or like perverted uncles, and maybe like a married in uncle, because of course they still try to hit on you and stuff like that. So anyway, so I was telling my one friend, actually I think he was my boss at the time, and we had the shop going or whatever, and I was like the gadget in the shop, and I was saying I need a steering gearbox or whatever. So he's like, well, you know, me and Bobo are going to the junkyard out in it was somewhere out, way out in the sticks from the state we were living in, and this is on the East Coast. It's not in Vegas. So, so I was like, okay, yeah, cool, I'll go with you. So he's like, well, we're going in the morning, so, so I'm like, okay, yeah, no problem. So we get up early in the morning. His friend pulls up in this '89 Chevy Suburban, so it's like a big, loud, you know. It kind of cool, but you know, he again, somebody beat the car into the ground, the truck. So this thing was running on like $3 of gas at a time. He refused to put more gas in it. So we had to go kind of far out. We were in the city, and we had to go like way out in the sticks. This MF puts $5 of gas in there, and I'm like, are we gonna make it? And he's like, oh, quit your whining, woman, because he's like old school. And even again, like, this is what I didn't really like in the car club community. It doesn't matter how much stuff you're doing with these cars, these guys, like, and it's not hashtag not all mechanics, so get over it. But there are so many guys that have to feel more important, like in the mechanic world at least. Like, they use the fact that they know about cars to act like women are stupid. It's like, yeah, but you're still gonna be married to her, you're still gonna have kids, you're still gonna go out to the club and try to have sex with women, you're still gonna try to date women. You need women. So what are you talking trash for? Like, oh yeah, you know, a woman's car and there's a man's car and her. And it's just so corny to me. Like grow up. Like, if that's all you have to cling to, like, I let me tell you, as somebody that worked in a dozen shops, yes, it really is just a bunch of out of shape men standing around a tire fire talking about what women need to do, and who's gonna do what, and this and that, and all this joking around, and they're slobs. So anyway, you know, right trigger. So, you know, and if take it as it applies. If it's not you, then don't take it as though it's you. So anyway, right, I'm angry Buddha. So that's the whole point, is that Nichiren Buddhism teaches that even the most ordinary of beings is still a Buddha. So that's my point, is like, you might think I'm about the whole life, if you, or you know, oh, you did this, or you're like this or whatever, how can you call yourself this or that? That's the point, is that we are all Buddhas, even at our worst. So anyway, so right, we're going. I'm like nervous in this truck with, you know, because I really think it's the fuel pump is gonna quit on this truck, because he put $5 of gas in there, and it looked like it just didn't feel like we're gonna make it. So I'm like nervous, you know, and we're bumping along, because it's a tin can, like it's all that Suburban was all gutted. That's his, you know, his car parts work truck kind of thing. So we get out there, and I will tell you, if you think Tough Mudder is bad, like, I've never done Tough Mudder, but just looking at it from the sidelines as somebody who's having an opinion about something I haven't ever done, right? You think Tough Mudder is bad? This could have been like the car version of Tough Mudder, because we went there. Okay, it's like a the junkyard was like a pit. You drove up, and then there was like a cavern down, and then it was a pit, and that's where all the cars were. So if you were in the pit with all the junk cars, you could look up because it was sunken in, and then the land was kind of raised like this, and there were trees and forests all surrounding, kind of surrounding the sink in junkyard. So we go, okay, whatever. So that's how it's set up. I've never been there before. We're out in farm country. It's a rural it's a rural northeastern state section. So just to give you an idea of the demographics. So yes, we got people hanging dummies from chairs from trees and this kind of stuff. So whatever, because we're not here for that. So we go in, I find this section that's got my year, make, models, cars and stuff. And the one other Chevy in that row that had the steering pump I needed, the steering gearbox that I needed. And the guys weren't, listen, like, please don't ever think, like, okay, guys looked out for me as fellow friend mechanics, but please don't think I just stood there, like, with my arms folded while these guys dug it out. Because, again, they got a vendetta with women. And I'm not saying, oh, they should have. I'm saying that these guys showed no sympathy for women. So please don't think I got any special favors kicking it with them. Because, right, sure enough, they didn't even let me go on the trip until I fully disclaimed that I was going to take it out, the steering gearbox, and that I wasn't going to cry when they weren't helping me, because they were there to find parts of value for money. So they're like, well, we're trying to pay bills, and you're just some little, multiracial girl with a family and stuff. You couldn't afford it, so you have to take your own part out. I'm not helping you, yada, 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 yada. And I'm like, I didn't ask for your help, because I got a chip on my shoulder right then. So we get out there, and they're like, yeah, don't forget, you getting it yourself. And I'm like, I know. So I got my toolbox, to go out to the car, whatever. And I go over, and the one Chevy that has the steering gearbox that I need has a hornet's nest in it, in the engine bay. Well, your girl didn't come all the way out there to the sticks to have a car that still didn't work after riding in that death trap of a Suburban and dealing with these two, freaking Sanford and Son, talking about who needs to do what and who they owe child support for and what, just God, whatever else. There was no way I was going all the way there to be defeated by some bees, hornet, wasp, whatever. Yeah, your girl was nervous, and all the more that just pushed it further that they definitely weren't going to help me, because they sure as hell weren't trying to get stung by any bees. So they're like, oh, this and that, ha ha ha, because they think it's funny. Oh, you're still going to go get it? Still going to get it? GT, right. So I go, right, get to work, try to figure out the best place to go, because I forget exactly where the hive was in the engine bay, but it was in there. But it wasn't, fortunately, maybe it was over by the headlight, and then I needed to get to the gearbox. So I went from under the car, and but of course, the thing with that is, you're pinned under the car if they decide to attack. Longer story short, I'm working through that as if that wasn't enough. We're all, by now all them two found which cars they're picking off of like hyenas, and I'm getting mine. So we're all working, whatever, and we start hearing this little pew, 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 pew. And I'm like, I'm yelling from under the car, like, what is that? They're like, I hear them, I hear some voices. Oh, shoot, come on, you misgot it. Come on, hurry up. And I'm like, what? What's going on? Because I'm like under it trying to get, and then suddenly they wanted to jump in and help me just to hurry up and get it off. So we get it off, and as he said, don't freak out, just calmly, just go, but go with purpose. So I'm like, what's going on? What's going on? And I'm following them, and they're like, just stand, at that point they protected me. That was sweet. So I'm like, what's going on? And he's like, they're shooting up there. This place had some random locals with their, like, I guess, BB guns up at the top of the pit. Remember I told you it was like a little rim and there was all these trees and stuff up there, and then down in the pit is the cars. Sexy. Excuse me. So I'm like, what? What are you talking about? He said they're shooting from up in the trees, from the pit. They're shooting down. Is this, I'm gonna just say locals. It's locals that don't like our kind. These locals were up in the trees shooting BB guns at us down in the car pit. I'm like, naive beige girl interrupted. So I'm like, what? I'm on my part. I'm like, what do you mean? What? We should go. He said, no, we just got to get out of here. He said, it happens a lot. Sometimes they get bored and they decide they're going to come out and see who's here, and they shoot at you from up in the trees. I said, this is crazy. He said, they don't really hit any, I've never seen them hit anybody. We think they're just trying to scare somebody and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, so next thing you know, we packed up, we paid for our parts, and got the hell up out of there. So that was just, I don't know. I know I'm not trying to make this channel about like racism and guys, but that was what happened. That was part of the story. So anyway, yeah. Most of the time, I guess, with the car stuff, most of the interesting stories are probably mainly just related to guys that you don't want to sleep with trying to sleep with you. I guess, I don't know how funny it might be considered, but I've had my share of mechanic guys, girlfriends that just, they have a right, they don't like that you're there, because, they know their man isn't great, or they're feeling insecure about their man for whatever reason, and then here you are having a fun time with them, or you guys are working on the cars, and because she followed his template of women belong here and there, she is inadequate in the garage. It's like, yeah, they're telling you that so that you limit yourself, and that they always got the jump on you, and now you're sitting there in the kitchen looking out of the window at us working on the cars. So of course that brought on a string of bitter Bettys, that felt like I must be doing that on purpose, or it made it easier for them to accept what was going on by blaming me or whatever. And I certainly didn't show up inappropriate or whatever. But I will tell you about a time I played myself with a mechanic. So there was this one guy, again, this is back east, and he actually worked for my uncle. And GP, I finally want to feed you. Oh, here's my cat GP. I love her. Anyway, so there was this guy, he worked for my uncle. That was how I met him. And my uncle had a body shop, and he was like, I just found him. Oh my God, he was a Scorpio too. That's funny. So anyway, I just found him incredibly, attractive and sexy, and he knew cars, and he was good at them, and he was friends with people that I knew, and blah blah blah, in the car circles, and I was just cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs over this guy. Like, I had a big crush on him. And so, I'm definitely using the car stuff as an in. I'm like, best of both worlds. I love cars, and this guy is really, I'm really interested in him. And he's like this mysterious loner mechanic type, of course. So, he was working for my uncle, but he also had like a little place he rented out, like way in the cut. It was like, of course, Scorpio stuff, like, of course, found some like remote little tucked away hidden place where he's doing all his jobs and stuff like that. Okay, cool. I was going over there every day. Every day I'll be texting him like, oh, what's good? You know, go over there, hang out, be, you know, trying to, you know, get in as the Gidget. And, you know, I wanted him to help me, again, learn what I wanted to learn as far as, because he did paint and I really wanted to paint. You know, he helped me he was the reason I had the color that I had when I painted my first car. He managed to hook me up with this really great color that it was just, it really touched my heart, because that color helped create a legacy, you know, at the time. And I'm not saying like my car was better than anybody's. I'm saying that for me, it was part of what put me on the journey that it was. So I was just really smitten with him. He never tried to make a move on me, but there was just this, you know, vibe. So so I was like more than happy to be proactive, and you know, I'm just like really over there, really making a fool of myself, because I'm just like really trying to let him know I'm interested and this and that and whatever. So just too hype, you know. I can admit that now because it's years later. We're still friendly, but it's not, we never pursued it. So he had the right, like there was this tension, but he never actually said anything. So and by now I'm finding out that he's got like 6 kids with like 6 baby mamas and counting. And you know, I'm not judging, but I'm just saying, like, you know, obviously you are like Johnny Appleseed over here. No F's given, and you just, you know, because right, like they end up looped in with you, and there's no way to hold on to you emotionally. So they just play themselves and have to raise your kid, and that's just it. So right, I wasn't trying to be part of the keychain. You know, another charm on the belt of a baby mom squad. I wasn't trying to do all that. So, you know, for me, I was trying to find out if there was some kind of proactive interest or whatever. So I was going over there religiously to hang out, and but then my ego got in the way, and I didn't want him to critique me working on cars, so I didn't really want to work on cars in front of him, because I didn't want him to come over and like point out what I'm doing, what he didn't like I was doing or whatever. Like I you know, that part got a little bit weird. So I wasn't ready for that. I'm like, okay, I want to, you know, pursue the romantic side of it, you know, because he would just, I'll admit, he was just too focused for me. He was way better mechanic than me. Just based on experience and everything alone. And he had actually like a talent, a skill. He was very good. So, but you know, he was a drifter. He reminded me of remember Gambit from X-Men? You remember that one in the cartoon? Gambit. Did they ever make a real Gambit? Because I don't remember. I'm not really heavily invested in the new Marvel movies. No tea, no shade. It's not. I'm not mad at you if you do that. I'm just. I don't like buying in. Like, if anything, I'll wait until the hype fizzles out, and then I probably check out the movie. So anyway, he reminded me of Gambit. Just loner, take no prisoners. Oh, well, I didn't tell you to come. You came on your own. You know, like, he's not telling you to go away, but he's not encouraging, you know, progress in your interaction either. So I'm like more than happy to be proactive and do all the work, because I'm like, yeah, you know, this guy's hot. Like, he was just so hot, and I was just really digging him. So I'm like crazy about him, whatever. And so I'm going over there, and I remember I went out, got some. I was like really tired of him not making a move, and I went out, brought a bottle of wine, threw a few back, and I decide I'm going to go over there, and we're going to find out what's what. And sure enough, even though it's late night, he's over there, garage door open. Like I said, it's in the cut, so you wouldn't know unless you knew where to go. You wouldn't know if he was there. So I go back there, and sure shite, he's back there, and I'm like, hey, you know, and he's like, oh yeah, what's up? And he's, you know, preoccupied with the job, which, you know, again, I find so sexy because it's focus. And, you know, I love when men love their passion and their job and everything, and they're like really good at it, and they're more focused on their their job or their passion than you know, trying to grab a bunch of low-hanging kitty fruit, you know. Sorry, sexy. So so I go over there, I'm like, hey, and he's like, oh hey, what's up, you know, and goes back to what he's doing. And you know, so I'm like kind of like in, you know, getting in his space, like, yeah, you know, I want to talk to you kind of thing. And he's like, oh, what's up? And I'm like, oh, so how's it going? And I like lean up in his space, and he's like, you know, totally immune. He's like, good. And I'm like, yeah, you know, because just what would you do if I kissed you right now? And he's like, so, right, no, nothing. So I'm, you know, of course, that's not enough of a hint to you know, abort the mission. So no, that's not enough. That's not enough of a symbol. So right, I lean in, go in, and plant one. Go for it. Kissed him. See how I did that? That's exactly how he looked when I got done. Which I wasn't like, it wasn't like that, but it was like I was trying to be sexy and stuff, so I'm like, you know, just kind of like slow and like a kiss. I didn't, oh, and no tongues. Like, I didn't try to put my tongue in his mouth or anything. But the point was, like, I kissed him. And I personally did not feel any sort of kiss back. I didn't even feel his muscles, like retract to try to, like, it was like kissing a mannequin. Like, he just, you know, and of course, I felt like trash after that. And I was, like, I was, like, devastated, but that sunk in later. And I just, realized it wasn't, I don't know, but like it obviously didn't seem to be that kind of party. Like I was gonna, like it was gonna border on assault if I tried to push any further. So I just kind of like recoiled back because he's like really tall, and I'm like, like, oh, awkward. And he kind of like didn't really say anything. He kind of just tried to like go back to what he was doing. So I was like, oh, that's salty and lame. But so just goes to show you, being salty is a two-way street always. And I was still friendly with the guy, and then I ended up seeing him on social media. Like he had gotten with, you know, I guess girl number 7 maybe of the baby mama chain, and then like she already had 6 kids, so they had like 14 kids together, you know, kind of situation. I'm like, hey, people thought it was cute when the Brady Bunch did it, why not you guys, you know, whatever. I'm not judging. I was just bitter Betty that he didn't like me, and then he moved on to some other girl who also had like a similar transcript of childbirth. So that was that. And there'll be other stories, but I guess that was probably, you know, I'm trying to keep the videos under an hour. And there's enough stories that we don't have to be in a rush to cram them all into one video, especially since my editing tool doesn't seem to be working, so I'm really just kind of shooting from the tip. Ooh, I don't think you can say that. Anyway, so yeah, so those are my stories for today. What do you think? Have you oh, and how it relates to Buddhism? I think I'm just on this kick of story time, but again, I think it's just related to karma, and you know, it's not that everyone has a Buddha nature. It's just whether or not we're in a high enough life condition to bring that out of them. So whatever it was about my karma, for example, that one mechanic felt like he was going to come at me with the cross-dressing Ed Wood scenario. You know, whatever about my karma, you know, I ended up attracting you know, or being attracted to guys who maybe want nothing to do with me. So I'm not acting like these situations are unique. I'm just saying, you know, these are my stories as a practicing Buddhist, technically. And, you know, more than happy to probably like either laugh, hopefully laugh at the comments, or, you know, you can just share your story or whatever you want to say about it. Hopefully it doesn't have to be hateful. But if it does, then just know I'm going to laugh because I promised I would. And, you know, just that's what's happening in my time in the automotive circles. So anyway, hope you enjoyed. Hope you're having a great weekend and have zero car trouble.